1 out of 9 heroin overdose deaths in the United States occur in Ohio. That's far more than any other state, including the biggest, California. Governments frequently launch new anti-heroin efforts and money pours from taxpayers' wallets to fund them. But little seems to work. The question is often asked, can anything be done to fight this epidemic, or are we only slowing the bleeding? Kyle Dawson is here with another look at heroin in Ohio.
Thank you, Savannah. Like it or not, recreational drugs run through American culture. Alcohol led to the prohibition in the 20s. In the 50s and 60s, acid let hippies see the world in a different light. In the 80s, cocaine was the undisputed ruler of nightlife. The 90s then saw the rise of meth, and today it's heroin, which is anything but a recreation drug. It's the killer that keeps on killing. My story brings you 3 different perspectives, 3 different people that are battling this epidemic in their own way, each one suggesting that heroin can't be stopped.
I'm willing to sit here at this table knowing that this crap in my vein just might kill me. You're not going to do it. I will.
Every time Kelly Hart sat down with the drug in front of him, he knew it could take his life, and it almost did, putting him inches from death. But neither the days spent on life support nor his family leaving him behind was strong enough to make him stop. Officer Lindsay Llewellyn attacks the epidemic on the front lines. She says law enforcement will never get the dealers off the streets. Too many people see the opportunity of using addiction to make a quick dollar, no matter how deplorable. Judge Becky Doherty takes the role of trying to rehabilitate addicts through the Portage County Drug Court, but even she admits she can't make them do anything they don't want to do. Although these 3 have fought their own battles when it comes to the recent epidemic, Kelly Hart is the only one who knows what it's like to be completely consumed by heroin.
Shake, you puke, you crap your pants, you sweat, you shiver, you feel like you have bugs inside your body, outside your body. You're in physical pain. Every joint, every muscle hurts tremendously, like you've been hit by a truck or that your bones are broke. It's that bad.
Hart managed to escape his nightmare and has been clean for 2 years. The alcohol he used to drink is now replaced with a Dr. Pepper. And if you can't find him on a Sunday morning, it's not because he went to get his fix, but rather he is praying at church. His road to recovery wasn't one he walked alone, dragging the ones he loved most with him.
I thought he was gonna die.
Family like Mikola, Kelly Hart's wife, whose children weren't allowed at her home as long as Kelly was there. She battled daily just trying to soak in what was happening in her home.
In the beginning, it was a lot of, I didn't believe it, didn't want to believe it, couldn't quite understand how someone you love so much could do something that was, you know, so terrible.
Mikola struggled with confrontation and keeping the peace for years.
I started to have to hide money in the house, outside of the house, just no cash. And I'm not really one that likes to lie, but I would just lie to him. He'd come home like, how much money do you have? And I got nothing. I got $5. That's all I have, you know. And it was hard to lie.
And she couldn't lie to him anymore. She eventually realized his addiction was not leaving their home anytime soon, so she did, taking her kids with her.
I was just kind of prolonging it. I started to realize that I couldn't love him through it. I couldn't help him through it. I couldn't do any of those things, that this was really something that he had to face for himself and change if he wanted to. And it just came down to a matter of safety for my children and myself.
Recently, the epidemic has reached such heights that one judge no longer wanted to just throw them behind bars, but rather open a door for sobriety. Thus, Judge Becky Doherty began a drug court right here in Portage County in 2017. In her short time of operation, Doherty has seen hundreds of people enter her courtroom with various drug offenses. Anyone in the system is allowed to live at home and hold a normal job. All they need to do is check in multiple times a week to prove they're staying sober. She is trying everything she can, but at the end of the day, Doherty doesn't feel like this system is even close to being a solution.
It's not the answer. It's not the answer for everybody, and that's what's a shame.
And all too often, Doherty sees these addicts switch to other drugs like the once dreaded meth. Not too long ago, meth was taking users' teeth and causing them to stop eating until they were skin and bones. But compared to heroin, that's almost nothing.
The difference between meth and heroin is that you're going to die a quick death from heroin, maybe a slow death from meth, but it's not going to kill you immediately. I think they would turn to other drugs, but that's not the worst thing.
However, she says there is only one way to reduce the magnitude of this epidemic.
We can provide treatment all day long, but how about stopping their ability to get it? And that's where I think a lot of the resources should be focused.
One of the foot soldiers in the war against heroin is police officer Lindsay Llewellyn. She stands at a modest 5'2" to fight the tallest order against the force, heroin, dealing with the drug almost daily. She's arrested dozens, but her, as well as the rest of the force, despite their best efforts, cannot keep it off the streets. And the reason why, she says, is simple.
Simple economics, you know. If there's a demand for it, you're gonna be able to buy it.
Llewellyn is a graduate of Kent State University, making her no stranger to the streets she patrols daily. She spends the first part of her morning driving through what she knows to be the problem areas, neighborhoods where she has experienced heroin firsthand. She knows she is doing the right thing, but the growing statistics just don't reflect the effort she is putting in.
I mean, it takes time to charge people, to gather your evidence, to, you know, basically make a case against this person. And then you find out you did all this, and then the next day they went to court and they got out and they're back doing the same thing not even 24 hours later. That's defeating. That is very defeating.
Our ride along with Officer Llewellyn took us right here to the Villages at Franklin Crossing, a neighborhood where heroin seems to pop up regularly. And while stopped on the corner of Anita and Simon, the property manager walked right up to the car, hand delivering a bag full of needles and a used spoon found right here on this property.
Spoon and syringes.
Okay.
I don't know what to do with it. I don't know where to dispose of it. It's all bagged up.
Okay.
Put it in zip.
But regardless of the countless arrests made, it's not even denting the ongoing war.
You take some heroin off the streets, it's a new dealer gets right back up and takes his place.
As we know now, Kelly Hart scratched and clawed his way to sobriety. He's back to working construction, and Mikola has gone from lying about $5 to owning and operating 7 hair salons. They moved into this home in October and are remodeling it all themselves.
So I'm gonna, sand all of this down and make it, stain it and make it look nice again.
This ending is one you'd find in a fairy tale book, but he recognizes he's one of the few.
Many, many people that I know have lost their life, yes, because of it. Absolutely.
So do you consider yourself lucky?
I consider myself blessed, not lucky. Yes, I'm blessed. Yeah. It's God. It's not me. Cannot do it on our own. It's impossible to do it on our own, and I think that's what so many people don't understand is you can't do it on your own.
Even with the blessings from his God, heroin still owns real estate in his head. Some of the smallest things reminding him of a past that feels so far away. A dark shadow will always follow him.
The smell of vinegar will bother me a little bit, or I'll pass up an old location that I've used at, and something that I can't control is the addiction part in the brain. It's something that happens automatically that I can't control, but I can control the way I feel about it, my reaction to it. It's just kind of a memory, that takes place, but I don't feed on it. I just kind of ignore it and just go on with my day, and thank you, God, for keeping me sober another day.
So Kyle, we saw 3 different faces of heroin there. We had a judge, we had an officer, we had an addict who'd recovered and gotten his life back. But on each end of those, you kind of hear that same it can't be stopped, it can't be stopped. But after going through the story, and after these stories and testimonials, what do you think? Can it be stopped?
I mean, after talking to these 3 different people, I mean, each one have had a different involvement sort of with the drug. You have an addict who barely made it out of alive. He will be 2 years sober, I think last week. Okay. And so that's incredible. That's very rare. But even he says it can't be stopped. He's one of the very few to make it out of this epidemic alive. You have a police officer that deals with the drug on the streets daily. I mean, going through the same neighborhoods and finding the same people dealing with this drug. And then you have a judge who started a drug court specifically for heroin. And I mean, she deals with these people every day too. And she's trying to rehabilitate them and give them like a source of hope. But she says that's not an answer either. So it's kind of just this ongoing battle. None of these 3 people say that it can be stopped. I mean, hopefully it'll just kind of switch to a different drug, a drug that's less deadly than heroin, but still that's not a solution either. So you kind of have to think back of where it started. With Kelly Hart, he was on painkillers. I mean, he had a long list of medicines that he was taking every single day, and that led to his addiction. And that's something that we kind of ran into regularly. Our medical expert was telling us, like, it all starts with painkillers. And then, I mean, they get addicted to these. It's something that they're used, like that feeling that they get from them, they're used to that. It spirals out of control, and it turns into a huge epidemic.
All right, well, thank you so much for your story and your work.